Sup, homies? That's a little phrase I've enjoyed saying since we're all forced to be at home. And homies, according to Urban Dictionary, means friend, so it seems pretty fitting to me. So I'm just sitting here in my backyard on my deck doing what I do best, which is social distancing. But even a person like me who enjoys being at home is getting a little tired of it. So, what are we going to do about it? Well, I think it's important that we learn how to smile. I think it's important that we learn how to make smiling our favorite. See, smiling stimulates our brain's reward mechanisms in a way that even chocolate can't. And if you can't force yourself to smile, just hold a pen in your mouth and force those smiling muscles into action. Actually, scratch that. That is a terrible idea in this day and age. Very unsanitary. Since holding a pen in your mouth is probably a bad idea, we're going to have to come up with something else. I think what we're going to have to do is figure out a way to take our negative thoughts and turn them into something more positive. That reminds me of a clip from Seinfeld where George Costanza's on a date and he's walking in the park with a girl and he almost steps in a pile of manure. Well, instead of saying manure is a terrible thing, he comes up with a way to make manure positive. So here's what he said. He said, manure really isn't that bad. You've got your ma, which is good, and you've got the word newer, which is good. So that's two really good things. So manure really isn't that bad. Actually, manure is very refreshing. If you can come up with something positive about manure, I bet you we could come up with something positive about the coronavirus. What I've been doing is when I hear the word coronavirus, I start thinking about my hometown of Corona, South Dakota. Corona's a really, really small town out in the middle of nowhere. The population of the town is about 110 people. The size of the town is a little bit bigger than the property owned at New Life Academy. It's one of those small towns where the welcome to sign and the come back later sign are all on the same post. In fact, it's so small that our school named their mascot the Corona Midgets. Now, here's some proof of that. I am wearing currently my Corona Midgets t shirt, which I got a couple years ago when they were trying to raise money for a park. Anyway, I thought maybe to help you get your mind off of the evils of the coronavirus, I'd take you on a little field trip out to my hometown of Corona, South Dakota. I thought it would be fun to take a little field trip virtually because we can't take field trips anymore physically, but with the power of Google Earth, I want to take you on a journey to Corona, South Dakota, to have all your thoughts on the word Corona erased and replaced with the bliss known as my hometown. So anyway, with a little help of the background music with Mr. Westland on the banjo, let's take our journey to Corona, South Dakota. Boom! We're already there. That was fast. Anyway, this is my hometown. This is where I went to elementary school. This is where I went to church. This is where my dad grew up, where my mom grew up, where my grandparents grew up, where my great-grandparents moved to. A lot of history of DeBoers in this neighborhood. I didn't actually grow up in this town. I grew up on a farm outside of this town, located at 14363 469 Avenue. And technically my address was Twin Brook, South Dakota. There it is. There's my farm. That's where I was born and raised all the way through age 18 before I came to Minnesota and became a math teacher. So, hope you enjoyed the tour. Let's continue on with some other thoughts. Wow, Mr. Westland, you have gotten much better on that banjo. I'm impressed. Before I let you go, though, I would like to just have a few moments to share a few thoughts on what I'm talking about here. The first thing I'd like to say is that in Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 through 8, God tells us something that is important for us all to realize. He tells us to be anxious for nothing. And that doesn't mean that we don't have things that we could be anxious for. He tells us to stop it. Don't do it. Don't allow yourself to be that way. But instead, what he tells us to do is to pray about everything. And not only are we to pray about everything and let our requests be made known unto God, but he tells us to do it with thanksgiving. And I like that phrase because with thanksgiving is saying you need to force your mind to focus on something that's positive rather than dwell on all the things around us that are negative. Force your mind to think about things that make you happy. Force yourself to smile. And then the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Jesus has provided a way for us to escape death. He's provided a way for us to escape sin. He's promised to take care of us and provide for us all our needs. And so the things that we have to be anxious for need to be supplemented with things that we have to be thankful for. And so from here on out, whenever you hear the word corona, I don't want you to think about a virus. I want you to think about a small town in South Dakota where nobody has the coronavirus, and half the people probably never heard of it. DeBoer out.